The man pointing his blade at her neck at this very moment was the exact man to whom she had once given her whole heart. In the middle of the magnificent imperial palace, Charlotte's gleaming sword pointed straight at Manet Frey's face. His gaze was stone cold, devoid of even a lingering trace of past affection. Manet Frey, I once cherished your talent as much as I cherished you. Yet I never imagined you would dare break the Empire's sacred law, then secretly practice black magic. Had I known you were such a fool, Dao would never have kept you by my side. Looking around the hall splattered with blood and abandoned dark magic grimoires, Manet knelt on the floor, so choked with grief that no words could escape. Her heart screamed inside, longing to cry out, Your Majesty. I didn't do it. Chevlotte. That way won't you believe me? Yet her throat failed to make a sound, even to the very end. You still refused to utter a single word to me, as a blinding burst of golden imperial power erupted from his sword. The final fragile ember of hope in her heart went completely dark. He truly intended to end her life. Watching the sharp blade strike down, Manet wondered how on earth her life had spiraled into such tragedy. She was once the young lady of the wealthy house of Frey, blessed with exquisite beauty inherited from her mother, along with intellect and grace far surpassing her peers. And yet, behind that radiant surface lay a childhood steeped in tears. Did you use magic in front of everyone again? You utter fool. Because of you, everything I painstakingly built for this family is about to crumble. From now on, live as if you are dead. I forbade you from doing anything. A stinging slap from her own mother snuffed out every hope of her childhood. To the House of Frey, her innate magic was merely a handy tool to climb the social ladder. In that grand mansion, there was never a single corner that truly belonged to her. Feeling stifled and useless, she always resonated with a witch in a storybook. A lonely witch who hated mankind, and saw a magical beast to gain power and destroy the kingdom. Yet in the end, she was slain by the male protagonist, a classic villain in ancient legends. What if the wicked witch of those stories was actually loved by someone after all? Could she, too, have longed for something small? A simple, humble happiness, rather than a vast kingdom to rule? Please keep these words to yourself, my lady. If Madame hears, we're all dead. She thought her life would forever fade like a hopeless shadow, until her family forced her to attend the royal ball. In the place she dreaded the most, she met Chevlotte. He appeared like a beam of light, gently holding her waist in a dance, whispering a sweet promise. I will stay by your side forever. And yet, reality was far from a fairy tale. When the imperial crown was proudly placed on Chevlotte's head, he fulfilled that promise with another woman, walking her down the aisle. Manet could only stand silently in the dark corner, watching the man she loved place a wedding ring on a noble princess. Then, tragedy cornered her when she discovered she was carrying his child. Are you truly carrying my child? Manet looked up in bewilderment at Chevlotte sitting on the throne. She had naively wondered if he had secretly cared for her all along to learn of the secret. But his next words poured cold water over her heart. Your mother came to tell me herself. It was her mother, once again. She hadn't rushed to tell him out of love for her daughter, but to use the child in her womb as leverage, securing benefits for her house. Right then, the scheming blonde empress beside him leaned gently on Chevlotte's shoulder, flashing an utterly fake smile. Your Majesty, why not show mercy just this once? For the sake of the royal child soon to be born from me. Hearing this, Chevlotte turned coldly to look at Manet, uttering words that stabbed deep into her heart. As an act of grace on this auspicious day, I allow you and that child to reside in the detached palace. Act of grace, spoken by the man she loved more than life itself, crushed Manet's heart. The child she bore with all her heart, the emperor's own flesh and blood, was permitted to exist merely out of charity, not as a welcomed blessing. Manet had once believed in Chevlotte, believing they could weather any storm together. But the greater her hope had been, the deeper her despair fell. On the day she gave birth to her daughter, Liriana, alone in the detached palace, that fragile little child became her sole reason to live, transforming her despair into a newfound hope. Yet, fate seemed determined to continuously torment Manet. Now, she lay collapsed upon the magic circle, bleeding profusely from the wound inflicted by Chevlotte's own sword. The memory of her young daughter, Liriana, filled her mind. Such a sweet, gentle child who once wept at the sight of a trampled wildflower and innocently prayed for the very child who bullied her. For such an angelic child, if she were to die, what would the emperor do to her? An illegitimate child branded as the daughter of a dark magic user, how could she survive in an imperial palace full of beasts? Manet reproached herself through her tears. If only she had been more careful around the treacherous empress. If only she had listened to her mother. But regret came far too late. I cannot die like this. I must live to protect Liriana. You can take everything from me. But if only I could start all over again. Her tears and resentment drained the last embers of her strength. Suddenly, from the magic circle on the floor, a blinding stream of mystical light burst forth. A colossal white dragon stepped out from the void, emanating the majestic aura of a legendary divine beast. You bear such a sorrowful face. Do you still wish to live? Human? Monet stared at the mythical creature before her in shock. She knew not if it was god or demon, but gazing into those ancient dragon eyes, she clung to her last ray of hope. I care not whether you are a divine beast or a demon. Please help me. Help me live so I can protect Liriana. The divine beast looked down at the pitiful woman, its eyes flashing with mystical magic. The contract shall be forged. Woman of the Chevalite. A surge of light swallowed the space around them. In her haze between life and death, Monet heard a faint, soft call. She saw the distant figure of little Liriana, smiling brightly. Mother! Mom, look what I have for you. Liriana reached out her hands, holding out hands drenched in fresh blood before her eyes. Monet awoke with a start. To her shock, she found herself lying on a soft, luxurious bed. Where was this? What was happening? Was she dreaming? Shouldn't she be dead? Yet, as she held up her hands to look, she recoiled in shock. Wait, these tiny, stubby hands. What did this mean? It couldn't be. Had she traveled back through time, returning to the past? She bolted upright. Stumbling, she rushed toward the large mirror hidden behind a red curtain in the corner. Yet this scene felt so familiar. Wasn't this the room in the detached palace? No, there was no way. Monet pulled back the curtain with all her remaining strength, only to see the reflection staring back at her, freezing her completely in place. What a cruel joke of fate. Irony of ironies. Monet Frey had not returned to the past at all. Instead, she had been reincarnated straight into her own daughter's body. The silky black hair and clear emerald eyes in the mirror left Monet stunned. This was the face of her childhood. Or rather, to be precise, this was the child who looked identical to her younger self. Her daughter, Liriana. Monet was so shaken that her legs wavered, and she stumbled backward. Was this a dream? Reviving in her daughter's body made no sense. Then what happened to Liriana? And what became of her former body? Her final memory ended with Chevlot's brutal sword stroke, followed by a strange encounter with a mythical creature in the dark. That divine beast possessed striking purple eyes. Just as the thought crossed her mind, Monet happened to look up and gasped. Right on top of the wooden wardrobe, a small white dragon with glowing purple eyes sat proudly, staring straight at her. Monet fell flat on her back. What is this? You're the divine beast from before. Seeing that she recognized it, the little dragon let out a yawn and flapped its wings, darting straight out of the room. Monet scrambled up and frantically gave chase. Stop right there! Explain to me right now what you did to me. Yet after only a few steps, she ground to a sudden halt, clutching her chest against the wall, gasping for air. This body felt heavy and utterly exhausted after just a few strides. Liriana's body had been frail ever since birth. The poor child had been bedridden for a very long time. She recalled the days spent caring for her daughter, holding her hand and reassuring her that once she recovered, they would do everything she ever wished for together. Back then, little Liriana had only offered a gentle smile, squeezing her hand warmly and whispering, I don't need anything else. I only need you. Mommy. That sweet memory choked Monet with grief. She wondered bitterly, was Liriana's soul still sleeping somewhere inside this body? Did her daughter still truly exist? The little dragon had vanished without a trace. Only now, did Monet notice how strange her surroundings were. The once splendid detached palace lay in ruin, gloomy and terrifyingly cold. It's so cold. This dress is as thin as cheesecloth. How could anyone withstand this weather? Liriana's body was already so frail. She would surely catch a severe cold like this. Monet walked anxiously down the deserted hallway. What in the world had happened here during her absence? Lost in thought. Thump! She bumped face first into something rock hard. Wincing in pain, Monet looked up. Before her stood two royal guards clad in full armor. They looked down at the tiny, unkempt child at their feet with scorn, full of utter contempt. Where did this brat come from? That's the kid from the room at the end of the second-floor hall. Ah, is that the child abandoned by His Majesty? The witch's daughter. Hearing the word witch again made Monet flinch. The guard sneered, shoving hard with the butt of his spear, sending her slender body tumbling onto the freezing floor. Shh! Watch your mouth. After all, she is still His Majesty's flesh and blood. Whatever. just seize her first. The rough guard reached out and grabbed Liriana's frail arm. Monet felt a suffocating wave of anguish, just as she had feared, because of the dark magic allegations framed against her. Her poor child, Liriana had suffered endless humiliation and abuse in her absence. Rage flared inside her. Gathering all her strength, she screamed, "Release her! Don't you dare touch Liriana with those filthy hands!" Right at that moment, the little dragon perched on the rafter suddenly swooped down, opening its tiny mouth wide. It took a deep breath and, whoosh, unleashed a blazing fireball straight at the two guards. Flames flared up, scorching their cloaks and sending them into panic, scrambling frantically to extinguish the fire. Watching the two guards jump around wildly to put out the flames, Monet hadn't even processed what happened before the little dragon flapped its wings and zoomed away. "Wait, divine beast. This time I won't let you get away." She hurriedly gave chase, running breathlessly into the grand courtyard outside. Monet suddenly froze in realization. The Northern Tower. This place was the Imperial Palace. As she searched frantically for the dragon, she caught the eye of a noble blonde boy standing nearby. He watched in bewilderment as the small, slender figure sprinted past at full speed, following a narrow garden path. Monet finally found the little dragon sitting leisurely beside a fountain. Out of breath, she carefully explained, "Divine beast, I just want to ask you a few questions. I'll stay right here, so please don't run away." Seeing her looking exhausted and pitiful, the little dragon huffed, turning its snout away. With a playful snort, then suddenly lunged forward and gave her a light nudge. Monet lost her balance and stumbled forward. Splash! She plunged right into the fountain basin. Monet surfaced, her hair plastered to her face, completely soaked to the skin. She wept softly, wondering what on earth she was even doing. But just at that moment, she noticed a shimmering light reflecting from the bottom. Monet reached down to pick it up, stunned to realize, wasn't this the magic stone necklace that once belonged to her? She looked up at the little dragon, who blinked innocently at her. Could it be this creature led her here on purpose to help her find it? But why would it do such a thing? The little dragon slowly floated down, nestling its round head affectionately against her shoulder. Monet cradled the tiny creature in her arms, feeling a soothing warmth spread through her. Her eyes filled with affection, yet brimming with wonder. "Just who are you really? I thought you were trying to run away. Yet here you are, fast asleep in my arms." Watching the little creature asleep in her lap, Monet couldn't help but smile. Was this adorable creature truly the imposing white dragon of her memories? With the help of the little dragon, she had retrieved her magic stone necklace. This artifact made controlling mana far easier, and might allow her to use magic within Liriana's frail body. However, now was not the time. The palace guards already saw her as the witch's daughter. If she recklessly used magic, there was no telling what horrible fate might befall Liriana. Monet hid the necklace inside her dress, held the dragon, and walked back. "Liriana," a clear voice suddenly called out behind her, startling Monet. Turning around, she saw a handsome blonde boy step out from behind a tree. Monet recognized him instantly. This was Dagon Goldiv, heir to Duke Goldiv, since he often accompanied his father to the Imperial Palace. Even while living in a secluded detached palace, Monet had caught sight of him a few times. But since when did Dagon and Liriana know each other like this? Dagon approached her with curiosity, pointing at her arms. "What is that? What is that in your arms?" In a panic, Monet raised the dragon over her head, trying to hide it. "Oh, well, you see, this is it." But before she could explain, the blonde boy's eyes lit up as if he had struck gold. "That's amazing. Incredible. Are you raising a fairy dragon?" "Liriana?" Seeing him exclaim with excitement, Monet could only nod along vaguely. I suppose so. Whoa. I heard fairy dragons only live in distant continents. I never expected to see one with my own eyes today. How did you manage to catch it?" As he chattered on, Dagon suddenly noticed Liriana's thin dress was soaking wet, dripping water onto the ground. Flustered, he immediately took off his luxurious coat and gently draped it over her shoulders. "Are you all right? How did you fall into the water? Put this on quickly." The boy offered a sheepish smile. "I'm so sorry. I was so focused on the fairy dragon that I didn't notice." "How unchivalrous of me." Hehe. Monet let out a soft laugh. "It's all right. Thank you." She praised him silently in her heart. He truly was a thoughtful and polite boy. Being around him always felt comforting. Friendly as ever, Dagon walked her back to the detached palace, happily waving goodbye. "Well then, see you later." Liriana, inside her quiet room. Monet laid the sleeping little dragon beside her and sighed quietly. "Hey, do you truly understand what I'm saying? If you really are a divine beast, Can you return Liriana to normal? 1 day passed, then 2. Time quietly slipped away without any change. As she gradually adjusted to her new body, Manet uncovered a few bitter truths. She had awakened in her daughter's body exactly 1 year after her murder. And heartbreakingly, she realized the terrible plight Liriana endured while confined in the northern tower. Just then, the spiteful maid tossed a plate of bland food with a rock-hard piece of bread onto the table and urged, "Eat quickly, I still have cleaning to do." Gazing at the meager meal and the wardrobe filled only with mismatched, tattered rags, Manet realized with a heavy heart, for an entire year, while she wasn't by her side, had her young daughter been mistreated like this? Biting into the ice-cold bread, tears stung her eyes. Yet she forced herself to stay strong. At the very least, it was she who was enduring this suffering now, and not poor little Liriana. The old tower room was caked in dust, making Manet cough incessantly. Not only was her living environment dreadful, but Liriana's health had also severely deteriorated. This is dangerous. Liriana's body was already far too weak. Even if she wasn't acknowledged as an official princess, she had at least received bare minimum care as the emperor's illegitimate daughter. However, ever since she snuck out that day, surveillance had tightened so drastically that she was forbidden from leaving her room. That suffocating isolation was eased slightly thanks to a special visitor. Dagon continued to visit her regularly. The boy had even named the small dragon Ame, because its sparkling purple eyes looked just like ametrine gemstones. The only problem was, this divine beast did nothing all day except curl up and sleep. Dagon rested his chin on his hand, admiring it. And these scales look absolutely gorgeous today. By the way, what does Ame actually eat? With that, he reached out to stroke its head. In response to his enthusiasm, Ame opened its eyes and gave his hand a painful bite. Ouch! With a sigh, Manet hurriedly wrapped a cloth around Dagon's wound. Rubbing his hand, the boy chuckled. "It seems Ame doesn't listen to anyone except you, Liriana." Looking at the little dragon snuggled in her arms, Manet thought to herself. It was not as though the creature truly obeyed her. Dagon continued, his voice full of curiosity. "I thought you were Amy's master. Why was the fairy dragon alone in the rear garden that day?" Seeing Manet's flustered attempt to dodge the question, Dagon eagerly changed the subject. "More importantly, would you like to go outside and play this time? There are so many fun things out there. I know all the guards here. I can ask permission for you." Yet before his hopes could blossom, the maid cold-heartedly shattered them. "That is quite impossible, young master." Dagon's face fell in disappointment. "Why can't Liriana go outside? At least give me a reason." The maid bowed her head and replied, "His Majesty is about to arrive at this tower." Moments later, Shevla appeared before them. Monet's heart hammered wildly in her chest. How strange. The sudden feeling of nervousness. She had never expected to face Shevlet so soon. Would he recognize her? No, that was impossible. Yet, perhaps this was for the best. There were things she needed to make clear to him. However, Shevlot walked past her with cold indifference. "Take it inside." "I do not recall ever granting permission to bring this outside." The maid bowed in terror, begging for forgiveness. Only then did Manet grasp the full reality of the situation. Who was truly responsible for leaving Liriana mistreated and helpless in this cold palace? A child branded as the witch's daughter. Not even acknowledged as a princess. If she could retrieve the child's soul, would things truly get better? No, first, she would personally reform this rotten place. Manet stepped forward, lifting her skirt to perform a curtsy of perfect imperial etiquette. "Your Majesty." Liriana Shevlot offers her respectful greetings to Your Majesty. "Raise your head." A flicker of resolve ignited in her emerald eyes. No matter the cost, she would turn the tides, even if it meant manipulating the emperor. Now, Manet sat in the sun-drenched pavilion, directly facing the one who had once taken her life. Shevlet Calvaria. He had once been an arrogant prince, disdaining constraints and loathing tedious rituals. Now, he stood as the young emperor ruling the Calvaria Empire, the only royal possessing the mighty Shavalite, and he was the father of Liriana, the body she now inhabited. The atmosphere was so cold and strained that the maid serving tea trembled with fear, whispering from afar, "What is happening? The air there is terrifying." Manet's gaze drifted to the sword at Shevlot's side, and she flinched. That was the very blade that had pierced her heart a year ago. Shevlot sipped his tea leisurely before speaking with cold indifference. "I had thought things might change here, but this place is exactly the same as before. How dreadfully boring. Don't you agree?" Seeing his casual attitude, Manet's heart surged with indignation. "Boring? Is that all you have to say to your daughter after a year apart? Even if he didn't notice Lariana's frayed sleeves, even if he didn't care that no one here listened to a child, she was still his daughter. He could at least ask how the child had been faring. Then she mocked herself silently. Oh, what a fool I am. To think that even now I haven't completely discarded this sliver of hope for this man. Suppressing the bitterness, Monet stood up. She straightened her back and locked eyes with Chevlot's crimson gaze. Your Majesty is right. That is precisely why this tower needs to change. Everything in this place must change. Chevlot curled his lips, a flash of curiosity in his eyes. Is that so? This dilapidated tower that looks like it could crumble at any moment. Monet replied with calm composure. Yet even so, you still sought me out yourself, didn't you? Your Majesty, you are a man who never wastes time on the worthless, just as you once did with Mother. Chevlot's hand froze on the table. The faint smile on his lips vanished instantly. His face darkened. What did you just say? In Chevlot's eyes, Lariana was but a worthless pebble picked up from a pocket, to be discarded whenever he pleased. It was ironic, but that very cruelty brought her relief, for she knew well what could truly command this man's attention. An attendant stepped forward to remind him. Your Majesty, we are ready to depart. But Chevlot ignored the attendant. He stood up, striding toward Monet before suddenly dropping to one knee. He lowered himself to look straight into the child's eyes. How interesting. You have never once looked away from my gaze. The maids gasped in shock at the Emperor's unprecedented gesture. Chevlot narrowed his eyes, peering deep into her emerald irises, and asked in suspicion, Did someone teach you to say such things? Somehow, this strangeness went far beyond a mere physical resemblance to her mother. You speak as if that woman were living inside you. A warning bell rang out in Monet's mind. This is bad. She had gone too far. Chevlot growled, his voice heavy with killing intent. Answer me. Who dared teach you to speak in such a way? Monet's face went pale. Just as she faltered, unsure how to respond, suddenly, a dragon's wing flapped past them. Wait, Before anyone could react, Dagon emerged from behind a bush, clutching a large bundle. He ran excitedly toward Monet. I got it, Princess. Here is your aim. No. Here is what you requested. Chevlot interrupted cold-heartedly. A princess? This child's name has never even been recorded in the royal registry. His cold statement instantly cast a heavy silence over the air. Startled, Dagon snapped to attention, hurriedly dropping to his knees in a proper noble bow. May your Majesty forgive my tardiness and rudeness. Dagon of House Goldiv pays respects to the great son. You may rise. Chevlot frowned, gazing down at Dagon. The sudden arrival of the Duke's heir caused him to set aside his suspicions for the moment, assuming the child had merely been coaxed into blurting out those words. But before turning to leave, Chevlot uttered one last cold remark. What you said just now was only half true and half wrong. It is true that I measure the worth of everything, but I never discard what is mine without reason. On that day, it was your mother who first betrayed my trust. Monet stood frozen in disbelief at his words. What? What on earth was he talking about? He was the one who had abandoned her first. He was the one who refused to hear her out to the very end. So what in the world did he mean by that day? Monet spoke up. But I did nothing wrong. Chevlot did not even bother to turn around. Walking away, he delivered his final warning. Even so, that does not mean you hold any value. If you desire anything, change it with your own hands. Returning to her room, Monet scoffed in silent bitterness. Change it? You demand that I prove my worth, when you don't even care what your own daughter eats, or how she manages to live. Just then, her attention was drawn to a young maid standing in the corner. Monet recognized her instantly. This was a young girl who had poured tea at the pavilion that morning, looking as though she had only recently begun working in the tower. Just as the food tray was brought forward, a maid tipped a bowl of hot soup right over Monet's hand and clothes. Hey, drink this. Oh dear. Oops, I spilled a little. Honestly, young lady, why were you just standing there dazed? You should have known to reach out and catch it. Grumbling, she dismissively turned to leave with the other maid. Monet looked down at the stain on her thin dress, her emerald eyes instantly hardening. She spoke in an icy tone. Halt! The two maids turned around in shock. Monet sat upright on the bed and commanded coldly, Everything you just spilled, clean every last bit of it up with your own hands. She might not be able to reshape this tower overnight, but instilling discipline into these wretched servants was well within her power. What did you just say? The maid flinched, unable to believe her ears. Monet remained sitting with arms crossed on the bed, her sharp emerald gaze piercing right through her. I said pick up everything you spilled with your own hands. Are you pretending to be deaf, or were you never properly raised? The pink-haired maid nervously tried to step in. Let me clean it up. But she was instantly shoved aside. Glaring fiercely, the maid shouted right into Manet's face. It seems our little lady doesn't understand her place. Who's the one that was raised without manners here? Watching her arrogant display, Manet softly closed her eyes. Recollecting the past, raised without manners? In truth, it was quite the opposite. The memory of her ruthless mother resurfaced. When a trusted servant was caught stealing, her mother had brutally whipped the servant without hesitation. Her mother taught that kindness never creates loyalty. Only a ruthless whip creates obedience. Punishments must be severe, while rewards remain meager. In the end, that servant was cast out, forcing their entire family to leave the village. From then on, not a soul in the estate dared disobey her mother. Recalling that painful lesson, Manet made a firm vow to herself to build a power base for Liriana. She was ready to do whatever it took. Manet held her head high, declaring firmly to the stunned maids, within 1 week, every maid in this tower must leave the imperial palace, except for one. A housekeeper of my own choosing. The maid was shocked. Wait a moment. By what authority do you speak? Manet calmly replied, echoing Chevlot's own words. His Majesty himself said to take initiative if I wished for change. Does that not grant me authority over this tower? Or did His Majesty speak in vain? Feel free to recite that to His Majesty next time he visits. At the mention of His Majesty, the maid turned deathly pale. Unable to retort, she turned and stormed off in a huff. She didn't forget to mutter curses under her breath, just like the witch's swan. However, Manet's declaration ignited a fire among the maids. A maid named Serena realized this was a golden opportunity. She recalled the emperor lowering himself to Liriana's eye level, an unprecedented sight. That very night, Serena cleverly prepared a warm, delicious tray of food and brought it straight to Manet's room, currying favor with her. I heard Anna ruined your dinner, my lady. I rushed to prepare this fresh meal. I hope you will find it in your heart to forgive her. Overnight, rumors spread like wildfire through the tower. Have you heard? Serena sneaked into the kitchen last night to cook. She's only choosing one housekeeper? Will the rest of us really be dismissed? Oh heavens! I heard His Majesty has changed his mind. We must hurry and win over Liriana. The next morning, seeing others scramble to serve Liriana, Anna bitterly clutched her broom and muttered curses. But on second thought, she realized there was no harm in being kind. Anna clutched her broom and hurried into Liriana's room. Seeing her, Manet spoke coldly. Who is responsible for cleaning this room? Oh my. Has the young lady woken up? There are few servants in the tower, so... Clad in a gorgeous gown, Manet stood tall, her expression cold as ice. I asked you one thing, yet you answer with another. The maid let out an awkward laugh. This place is managed by Tanya and myself. Manet lightly blew on her fingernails, replying with total indifference. Tanya has never cleaned a room alone, so the supervisor overseeing her must be the true root of the problem. Her fault laid bare. Anna gritted her teeth and stomped off in frustration. Those who openly looked down on Liriana had retreated for now. But Manet knew this peace would be short-lived. This tower ran like a set of gears. With only Liriana left cast aside, who should she appoint as the head steward now? Tanya was far too timid. Anna was malice incarnate, yet knew the inner workings well. Serena, on the other hand, was sharp and well-liked by all. Before she could finish her thought, her eyes fell upon tower guards slacking off, huddled together, laughing and chatting idly. Manet quickened her pace toward them and called them out bluntly. Is this where you are stationed? Your duty is to guard the tower, not to sit here fooling around. Is it? The two knights, fond of bullying those weaker than them, feigned deafness and mocked her. I couldn't quite hear that. What did you say, young lady? Isn't it time for lunch anyway? Just as Manet was left speechless, Dagon appeared like a savior. Forgive me for being late. Liriana, I swore on my knightly honor that I would only leave after finishing my training. The young boy offered a warm smile, then turned to glare at the two guards with overwhelming presence. My father taught me that a knight's oath must be guarded with one's life. Could my father's lesson be mistaken? The two knights turned pale in an instant, bowing flusteredly to beg for forgiveness. How could they not tremble at the mention of his father? After all, Dagon's father was Duke Kanaba, commander of the Royal Knights. Seeing Dagon's unwavering warmth towards Liriana, Manet felt a deep sense of comfort. Thanks to the information Dagon secretly gathered, Manet reached her final decision. The next day, She gathered all the tower maids to announce the new steward. Standing in line, Anna was brimming with confidence. She wants an easy life too. If she has any sense, she'll choose me or Serena. Yet, Monet spoke clearly in front of everyone, according to the lessons my mother taught me. I once believed she was right, until she abandoned me and the world turned its back on me. On the day Liriana was born, I decided to live differently from my mother. The next steward will be Tanya. Shocked murmurs swept through the tower. Tanya stood dazed, unable to believe her ears, while Anna shouted furiously, "Impossible. She's never even cleaned the young mistress's room." Standing on the high steps, Monet calmly countered, "You ought to face reality. Tanya may not clean my room, but she cleans all the hallways of this tower, thanks to Dagon." I learned that Tanya was the only one who, while everyone else hesitated or looked down on us, still served His Majesty tea despite her fear. She is the only one who never looked down on Liriana and me. Did you think you could ignore us just because we are young? At that moment, Anna lost all reason to rage, recklessly grabbing a pitcher of cold water. She splashed it straight over Manet's head. Smirking maliciously, she sneered, "Oh dear, my apologies. It's about time you stopped playing princess." However, before Anna's wicked smile could fade, a tall shadow fell across the entrance. Charlotte stepped in coldly. "What is going on here?" His deep, cold voice froze the surrounding air. Anna, the maid, recoiled in shock. She stammered, unable to find her voice. Seeing Anna, ready to conjure up an excuse, Charlotte strode closer. "Why haven't you answered me? Has your tongue been cut out?" Anna turned deathly pale with terror. Just as she was about to faint, Monet, in Liriana's body, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, she belongs to me. I was just teaching the staff about their duties and limits." Charlotte narrowed his eyes at her soaked frame, his voice laced with sarcasm. "By letting them dump cold water on you?" Monet calmly bowed her head in apology. "It was a necessary lesson. However, I did disrupt the order of the palace. I apologize." Anna stood stunned, unable to believe her ears. "What? Why is she defending me?" But then she realized this wasn't defense. That brat was baiting her into a forced confession before the emperor. Instantly, Anna collapsed to the ground, begging frantically, "My lord, your Majesty, it is exactly as Lady Liriana says. Please have mercy on me." Monet smirked and turned to bark at the rest of the stunned staff. "Now, as for the rest of you." Meeting the emperor's freezing gaze, every maid in the tower scrambled to kneel on the grass, frantically begging for their lives. Charlotte rubbed his forehead. Exhausted by this ridiculous charade, "That's enough. All of you, disperse. Liriana, go get cleaned up. I will inspect this tower myself." Watching Charlotte's retreating figure in the hallway, one could grasp the burdens weighing on the young emperor. He recalled that moment. In the study, Duke Goldiv softly inquired of Charlotte, "Charlotte, I have already heard it from Dagon. Do you truly intend to erase Liriana from your heart completely? I know why you sent the child to the North Tower, but it is far too harsh for someone as small as Liriana." Standing on the North Tower looking out, Charlotte could clearly see the Emerald Palace, where he was born and bound to childhood memories of his mother. This North Tower, since the time of his ancestors, had been a place to keep sinners who could not be thrown into the dungeons. The image of little Liriana's sorrowful eyes asking, "Do you hate me too, father?" flashed through his mind. Charlotte closed his eyes, reminding himself to remain cold. "No, I must absolutely not show any signs of weakness." Little Liriana sadly curtsied. "If you will excuse me, your Majesty." After that, she turned and ran quickly back to her room. Collapsing onto her bed, Monet grumbled, blaming herself. "I shouldn't have let my guard down if I wanted to earn the Emperor's trust. Have all my efforts to build influence gone to waste?" Just then, the small dragon, Ami, flapped through the window, perched on her lap, and playfully nibbled her sleeve. Monet turned away gloomily, refusing to look at it. But before she could dwell on it, Tanya knocked urgently at the door. "Lady Liriana." "It is Tanya." "His Majesty has just issued an imperial decree. Please come out and hear it at once." Monet jumped in shock, her heart skipping a beat. An imperial decree in the middle of the night. Is Charlotte planning to eliminate Liriana, just as he did to me all those years ago? At that same moment, standing by the window of the opulent palace, Charlotte ruminated on Liriana's clear eyes, asking, "Do you hate me too?" Those blue eyes, they were identical to hers from all those years ago. The knight in front of Liriana began to read the decree clearly. "Liriana Charlotte of the Calvaria Tower, one who disrupted royal protocols and deserves expulsion from the palace. This is a sin that cannot be easily forgiven. However, by the Emperor's grace, He's ordered Liriana's transfer to the Emerald Palace. Tanya exclaimed in delight. My lady, this is wonderful. The Emperor has changed his mind. You are finally returning to the main palace. However, Monet stood there, frozen. The Emerald Palace. It was where she once lived, and where Chevlot had cruelly ended her life with his blade. The next morning, Monet and Tanya packed to move, greeted by the bows of the new staff. Tanya gazed around in wonder, while Monet felt a sinking unease. What could Chevlot possibly be plotting? He even made the new tower steward accompany us. Poor Tanya. It might have been safer back at the tower. The polite butler led them to a lavish fitting room to wait for the tailor. As Tanya marveled at the room's splendor, an argument erupted outside. Move! Why can I not enter? Your Highness, you cannot go in right now. The grand doors were kicked open. A girl with flowing golden hair, wearing an ornate red and black gown, strode in. Madrine, I told you to report to me first when arriving at the palace. But then she stopped. Her red eyes narrowed in disdain as she spotted Monet and Tanya. Huh? What kind of filthy thing is this? Tanya whispered fearfully. Lady Liriana. That is Princess Blena. Blena sniffed in contempt. A new face I have never seen before. The butler stepped forward to intervene. Your Highness, please wait a moment. The Emperor has given orders. Before he could finish, Blena frowned and shouted. What? Are you saying the Emperor has matters more important than me? Just then, Monet calmly stepped forward. She spoke up. Liriana, that is her name, not something or creature. Monet secretly observed her opponent, Blena Chevlot, the only princess of the Calvoria Empire, dubbed the flower of the great sun, raised in luxury, showered with praise. Liriana was born at the same time, bearing the same royal blood, yet she was forced to walk a polar opposite path. As Monet pondered, Blena's maid suddenly lunged forward, striking Monet across the face. Blena sneered. What gives you the right to utter the princess's name with that vile mouth? You have absolutely no respect for the royal family. Stung by the slap, Monet let out a cold, sharp smile. Her emerald eyes glinted with icy intensity. Courtesy? That is exactly what you are lacking. Just then, the maid leaned in to whisper into Blena's ear. Upon hearing it, Blena's face filled with shock. What? She is the daughter of that witch? The steward quickly stepped in to explain. Princess Blena, these are direct orders from His Majesty. Starting soon, Madeline will also be designing outfits for Princess Liriana. Hearing this, Blena lost her composure entirely, screaming out, What? Then who will make my birthday gown? Madeline is my personal tailor. I refuse to share with a commoner. My father specifically created this dressing room just for me. Monet replied nonchalantly, Why shouldn't I be allowed? I too carry the Emperor's direct royal blood. Or perhaps, are you terrified of losing what you've always had all to yourself? The taunt was the final straw. Blena lost control and lunged forward, ready to strike Monet across the face. You bloodsucker. Didn't they ever teach you any manners? But just then, before Blena could lay a hand on Monet, a white blur descended from the ornate chandelier, striking like a bolt of lightning. The little dragon aim launched itself at Blena's face, sending her tumbling backward, shrieking in terror. What is this thing? Someone help me! The room erupted into total chaos. A maid scrambled to snatch the dragon, but Ame nimbly darted through the gaps, circling back to leap into Monet's arms. Nuzzling against her affectionately, Monet held a little creature, a vein pulsing on her forehead. Touched as she was by its protection, she couldn't help but sigh at the dragon's antics. Hold on, Ami. If you jump into my arms now, we're both in deep trouble. After Aim's impressive landing, Blena's servants cried out in alarm. What kind of demonic creature is that? Is it the witch's familiar? Tanya panicked and pulled Liriana close, shielding her with her own body. Mind your tongues, everyone. Just as the tension peaked, a familiar savior appeared at the door. Dagon peeked inside hesitantly. Is everything all right? May I enter? Upon seeing Dagon, Blena immediately shifted into the role of an innocent victim. She lunged toward him, sobbing. Dagon, are you here for me? I was scared to death. Dagon gently sidestepped her and leaned in to whisper to Monet. Liriana, did you show Ami off to everyone? Monet whispered back. Of course not. It darted out on its own before I could stop it. Dagon turned to reassure the others. Don't worry, everyone. Amy's just a little high-spirited. As long as you don't provoke it. Seeing Dagon's focus solely on Liriana, Blena interrupted, visibly annoyed. Dagon, what just happened? Are you simply going to leave me here? Startled, Dagon quickly turned and bowed. Princess Blena, my deepest apologies. Have you been keeping well lately? Blena offered a forced smile. I told you there's no need for such formality. As for my upcoming birthday gala, you will be coming, won't you? Dagon. I'm very much looking forward to it. With that, Blena stepped closer to Monet, a glint of malice in her eyes. I think there should be one more guest at the gala. I would truly love for you to attend as well. Liriana. Monet knew she was plotting to humiliate her, but this was a golden opportunity to step into the light. Monet replied with calm composure. I will certainly be there. Thank you for the invitation. Blena smirked. I'll send your invitation later. Let's head back to the Emerald Palace. Just as Blena departed, the renowned designer Madeline arrived looking radiant and excited. Oh my, is this lovely child Princess Liriana? And this rare jet black hair. Oh heavens! This is going to be fun. Madeline bustled about, pulling out piles of lavish outfits, urging Tanya to help Liriana change. Dagon blushed, speaking awkwardly. Then, I'll just step outside and wait. But Madeline caught him in time. Wait just a moment, young master. The first show is about to begin, and we need a gentleman's opinion. As the curtain pulled back, Monet emerged in a stunning blue gown with delicate white lace, radiant as a blossoming flower. Dagon turned to look, his eyes transfixed, completely stunned, utterly captivated by her elegant beauty. Wow, this outfit suits you perfectly. Liriana, you look like a fairy woven from silk and thread. She offered a shy, gentle smile. Thank you. But Madeline, the designer, wouldn't stop there. Her eyes were gleaming with excitement. All right, on to the next piece. This black hair captures every glimmer of light. There is no better backdrop than this. I'll use the finest materials for her gala gown. Seeing Tanya collapse nearby from exhaustion, Monet had to call it quits. Wait a moment, that's quite enough. Tanya is worn out. Madeline pouted, clearly regretful. But my inspiration has only just begun to flow. Besides, that little one seems to love it. Monet turned to see Amy, the small dragon, perched on a velvet cushion, donning a diamond-encrusted scarf, head held high in smug satisfaction. She couldn't help but chuckle. It's the first time I've seen Ami look so proud. As dusk fell, Monet's group returned to the Emerald Palace. Crossing the grand gate, she realized all the old servants had been replaced. They were Chevlet's watchful eyes, tracking her every move. As Monet grew pensive, a maid with pale purple hair approached. Bowing warmly, Lady Liriana, my name is Bennett. From today, I shall be your personal maid. It is an honor to serve you. From now on, you'll dine in this room. And over there. Monet calmly interrupted her. Bennett, that will be all. Thank you. But Tanya is enough. Bennett persisted stubbornly. But Tanya has only worked at the tower. You need to get used to your new home. Doesn't my lady need someone who knows this place well? Please, allow me to stay by your side. Monet inwardly scoffed at the phrase new home. Do the servants here not know Liriana once lived in this Emerald Palace? She merely nodded, letting it slide. Bennett beamed and took her hand. Wonderful. Let me show you the corridor to the back garden. However, as Bennett led her toward that very hallway, Monet suddenly froze. Her heart pounded with sudden panic. That direction. It was where she once fell to Chevlet's ruthless blade. The image of herself in that blue dress, lying in a pool of blood before the red door, flashed before her. Trembling, she squeezed her eyes shut. She forced herself to stay calm. It was only a phantom of the past. Yet, the deep psychological trauma combined with Liriana's frail body caused her to collapse. In the delirium before she fainted, poignant memories of her little Liriana flooded back. Years ago, the child had asked her sadly, Mother, why doesn't the Grace Sun visit us? Is it because I'm weaker than other children? If I weren't here, would you be happier, Mother? Mother, tears from long ago streamed down Monet's face. No. Liriana, if I didn't have you? Waking in the dead of night, Monet felt an agonizing exhaustion. Liriana's frail body had been pushed far past its limits. Gazing into the darkness, her heart grew heavy. Liriana's image in her dreams was fading. The girl's time had stopped in the past. The crisp, joyful laughter that once filled her heart had vanished. It was as if death were keeping them apart forever. Her sixth sense flared, warning her. Time was running out. As quickly as possible, she had to win Chevlet's trust at any cost. As a princess of the Calvaria Empire, she would gain the power to command immense wealth, rare ancient grimoires, and teams of experts in every field. Only by being recognized as a true princess could she easily break the ancient magic trapping her in this girl's body. A noble title will also be the best shield for Liriana's future. She was ready to do anything for her child. Just as Monet resolved herself, a cool night breeze drifted through the window. Oh, Monet startled as she saw the little dragon, calmly sitting on the balcony under the moonlight. She stepped closer, cradling the small creature in her arms and gently stroking its head. You've gotten heavier, little one. Where do you disappear to every day? Looking at the tiny dragon, the fear buried in her heart surged once again. What if she were to lose Liriana forever like this? If that worst-case scenario came to pass, what would she even do? Sensing its mistress's gloom, Am suddenly let out a soft, kitten-like purr. Huh? What is it, Ame? Suddenly, the magical pendant around her neck flared with a brilliant light. An ethereal aura enveloped them both. And without warning, Aim pulled Monet and shot straight out of the window. Soaring into the night sky, Monet cried out in panic. Ah, we're going to fall? But there was no fall at all. They hovered gently amidst the twinkling, star-filled night. Below them lay the magnificent, brightly lit Calvaria Imperial Palace. Monet was struck speechless. Is this levitation magic? Did you do this? Ame gave a soft, affectionate growl. Looking down at the empire from above, a feeling of unprecedented freedom surged within her chest. Reflecting on it now, she realized that when she felt despondent and defeated before, Ame had seemed to try and offer comfort. And during the confrontation with Princess Blena, Ame had unhesitatingly sprung forward to protect her. Every time she reached an impasse, had this small creature always been silently soothing and watching over her? Watching the full moon cut through the night, Monet pulled Ame tightly into her embrace. In that quiet moment, amid the crushing solitude and pressure, she realized she was not truly alone.